Hey, Perez Beleda, welcome to Indy, I guess.
Thank you.
I asked Scott this, you're probably a better person to ask. With your history with Carson, I guess it's simplistic. What did he do, or what did the team do well the first 4 years? And then last year, what just didn't work primarily with him? I mean, so much of it is quarterback driven, but you had a pretty good view.
Yeah, speaking to just last year first, there were a variety of things that went on last year that made it hard. We didn't do anything well. As an offense, as a team, you win 4 games. There's a lot to look back and say things didn't go well for us. So certainly everything around him didn't go well, and I think he would tell you that he didn't play his best last season. I think the 4 years before that, you saw what he's capable of as a quarterback. You saw overcoming adversity. You saw him playing when he had talented players around him, when maybe the pieces were lesser than at times, and the way he could play and elevate those around him. It's like a lot of quarterbacks when they're in a situation where a lot of things are going good around them. How do they play? How do you evaluate them in that situation? When things aren't so good, how do you evaluate them? And then obviously 2020 was not our best year. So excited to get back on the field with the Colts now and move forward.
Just a quick follow-up. So if you're not careful, can you allow 2020 to skew your evaluation or your criticism of any player?
Oh, I think so. I think, as these guys go in their careers, you kind of take their whole career into context and see the things around them and how they played, and to really build a true evaluation of a player and what they're capable of.
Thanks, Coach.
George Bremer. You obviously saw the Frank Reich Carson Wentz relationship up close. What about that union made it successful?
Well, I think it's both guys that have a true passion for the game and developing, and then developing the players around them. Whether that's as a quarterback or as a coach, pouring into guys to help everybody kind of elevate their game for what's best for the team. And those two guys, there's a true passion for football. I mean, when they get together in a meeting room, it's going to be a lot of back and forth, a lot of conversation. Philosophically, the minute details of a certain play, of a footwork, of things like that, because they're so passionate about it. They both have personal philosophies on the things they like, they don't like, and so they're going to, I think with their relationship, they're able to go a little deeper in some of those conversations as well. And that's, that's what helps of having a past with somebody. You come in here and, they haven't worked together for the last few years, but I think it's going to be where they're able to pick up where they left off and keep moving forward in their relationship.
Matt Kiefer.
Hey, Press. How would you describe the way your relationship developed with Carson in Philadelphia? Because you had a bunch of different roles.
Sure.
And it sounds like you guys got pretty tight. And then secondly, when you got this job here and you started to think about him becoming a possibility, as a possible trade target, how did that play out for you? Was it, let's go get him, let's go do this if we can? Where were your thoughts on that? Because it took a little bit while for the trade to actually happen.
Sure. Yeah, I was there the day Carson came in for, the pre-draft interview process. So I was very familiar with him from that standpoint, and then was in the room the day he got there. And so we'd been in the room together for the last 5 years in that quarterback room. Like you said, my role had changed over the years, but I think being the assistant quarterback coach early on, you're kind of that go-between between the coaching staff and the players. So there may be something that he wasn't comfortable at the time. He was, third-string quarterback when he started. Maybe something he wasn't comfortable asking through the install that he'd kind of slide up next to you and, hey, what'd they mean when they said this? What'd they mean when they said that? And you could kind of – so I think as a young coach, you develop a relationship with guys that way. And then just as things move forward in my career and I continue to be promoted or move up the chain within our offense, we were always working side by side, and I became the quarterback coach. We're working side by side. We have a lot of, history through the years. So as something would come up, as a play would come up, an install, an idea would come up, we had a lot of history to draw upon. So something would happen, we'd suggest a play. Well, hey, remember when this came up? This is why we did this. It kind of leads to that. So that's just kind of the benefit of being together and having a lot of experience together. Something that, I hope we can draw upon here in our experiences in Indy as well. So I'm looking forward to that. And then, our relationship, I feel very good about the relationship that we had as player coach, and look forward to developing and keeping that going as we move forward here. And then, when I got here and the conversation eventually came around to, Carson may be available in a trade opportunity, I was maybe asked a question or two. What do you think? What happened? If I could provide context to 2020, that season, or his career before that, that's something that I wanted to do to help the organization. And then ultimately, Frank asked, do you believe in the player still and what he's capable of with everything that happened around in his past? And, that was a no-brainer for me. I absolutely 100% believe in Carson Wentz as a player, and excited about the opportunity here for him in Indy.
Is that what you told Frank, if you don't mind me?
Yeah, I just told Frank I 100% believe in Carson as a quarterback.
JJ?
Preston, I'm curious about everything you just talked about with Zach's question and the relationship you and Frank have with Carson. How will that speed up the install process and the kind of feeling out process that every new quarterback has when he comes to a new team?
Sure. I think part of it is I can kind of be a translator for some things. I'm obviously ahead in my learning of this offense, because every Frank obviously developed some of the offense or took some of the offense from what we were doing in Philadelphia, but it's become the Indianapolis Colts offense. And so as I'm ahead and learning that offense and this language, maybe I can be a go-between for the staff and Carson there, and hey, we called it this, we taught it this way, he's used to seeing it this way. Because ultimately you build this thing around the players, and you build this thing around the strengths of your quarterback. So if I can help identify some of those things or break down language barriers quicker, I think that's my role. I'll embrace that. I'm excited to do that. But these guys have a great feel for who he is just off their evaluations alone, which is interesting to see as well, and exciting for me, something to learn from. And then Frank, obviously having his history with Carson, there's a lot of good dynamics here, I think, that can help us accelerate the process like you're talking about.
Jim Myala?
Hey, Preston. There were, I think, some questions about you being maybe too close to Carson to coach him. I know you've addressed this issue, or this question, I should say, in Philadelphia, so I apologize for doubling back. But with time to reflect on that now, wondering if you've ever thought that was an issue or not in Philadelphia?
There's a lot to learn from. Anytime a situation like 2020 happened where you underachieve, and then it ultimately ends in a new staff, there's a lot to reflect on, and that's something I absolutely do. At the end of the day, I'm very confident in my relationship with Carson, the way that I personally handled things. I feel good about it. Were there things I could do better? Absolutely. I would hope a lot of people look back on a season and say something like that, especially a season that went as poorly as it did for us. So there's a number of things that I'll reflect on, and I hopefully will grow upon. But in terms of the professionalism, the way I handle that relationship, I do feel confident in that, yes.
Ken Bowen?
Hey, Press, you mentioned earlier, kind of telling Frank, no-brainer, still believe in him 100%. I guess why? What did you see specifically? What have you? Obviously, you've been with Carson for a long time, so why are you so confident in that?
I've seen him when he's playing at his best, when the pieces around him are working well, and what he can do to elevate those around him as well. I go back to even the 2019 kind of playoff run we made there at the end to get into the playoffs, I guess I'd say. When we were kind of piecemeal together with the injuries we had, and the way he played at the end of that season, the way he played obviously when he was fully healthy in 2017, the way he played even coming off an injury in 2018, things like that. 2019 was its own. Each season is its own season. Let me say it that way. And so there were a lot of factors involved in each season and the way things go. And ultimately it comes down to I think he helps make the Colts better. So I'll stand on the table for a player that I think can make us better and contribute to what we're going to do here.
And last question, Joel Erickson.
Hey, Press, your title, Senior Offensive Assistant, what does that all entail, and what do you think your kind of specialty is?
Yeah, it's obviously a little bit vague. I think I'm just here to contribute to whatever I can with this offense and the way things go, whether that's at times helping Frank, helping Marcus, helping Scott, helping Clayton or Mike Groh or any of those guys at any position. Whatever they see fit for me is what I'll do. I'm willing to do anything they want here to help the Colts and put us in the best position to win games.